On July 25, 2025, Ted Stevens Anchorage International Airport, the lifeline of Alaska, suddenly went silent. The airport, usually bustling with travelers and echoing with the sounds of rolling suitcases and overhead announcements, was eerily still. The usual roar of jet engines vanished, replaced by an unsettling quiet that seemed to stretch on forever. Every flight, both arriving and departing, was abruptly cancelled, leaving the runways deserted and the gates empty. The arrivals and departures board was frozen in red, a stark warning that nothing was moving in or out. Travelers stared in disbelief at the screens, unable to comprehend the scale of the shutdown. This wasn't a weather delay. The skies were clear, and there was no sign of storms or snow, just an unnatural stillness. It was a national security emergency, the kind that sends a chill down your spine. Emergency vehicles lined the perimeter, their lights flashing in the gathering dusk. The FAA and Department of Homeland Security issued a ground stop for all civilian air traffic, offering no explanation or timeline. Officials moved quickly, but their faces betrayed concern and urgency. For thousands inside the airport, Alaska's gateway to the world had slammed shut. Police barricades blocked families from reuniting. Business travelers were stranded with no way home, and tourists' dream vacations turned into chaos and confusion. The terminal, once a place of excitement and anticipation, became a scene of frustration and worry. The silence inside contrasted with a storm of speculation outside. News crews gathered, broadcasting live updates as rumors swirled about the cause of the shutdown. What could be so dire to ground an entire state? The scale of the closure was unprecedented, leaving everyone searching for answers. For Alaskans, the airport is more than transit. It's a lifeline, connecting remote communities to the rest of the world for supplies, medical care, and family visits. Its paralysis was a profound shock, rippling through every corner of the state. Passengers and staff alike watched the news, hoping for any scrap of information. Federal agents surrounded the airport, their presence a stark reminder of the seriousness of the situation. Security was tighter than ever before. The message was clear: something had gone terribly wrong. Urgent alerts flashed across monitors, warning everyone to stay put and await further instructions. Alaska, and the nation, waited in the dark, desperate for answers. The uncertainty was palpable, as everyone wondered what would happen next and how long the silence would last. To grasp the impact, you have to understand Alaska: vast, remote, and mostly roadless. Air travel isn't a luxury here, it's survival. For many communities, the sky is the only highway. Anchorage's airport is the hub, connecting people and goods to the farthest reaches of the state. When it shuts down, villages miss food shipments, patients miss medical care, and families are cut off. It's also a global cargo artery, linking Asia and North America. Billions in goods move through Anchorage. The shutdown didn't just strand people, it froze supply chains worldwide. Federal authorities knew the risk. Closing Anchorage meant severing Alaska's main artery. The empty skies were a chilling reminder of just how isolated and dependent Alaska truly is. It was a typical July morning at Anchorage's airport, until a ground crew member spotted something strange on a jet bound for Seattle. A small, dark object was attached near the rear cargo hold, clearly out of place. He radioed his supervisor, who quickly escalated the alert. Boarding was halted. Passengers were calmly ushered back to the terminal. The flight crew was told of a potential security threat. Deplaning began quietly to avoid panic. A specialized team inspected the aircraft and confirmed the worst. The object was a deliberately placed device. Instantly, the situation escalated to a full airport emergency. The order came down: close the runways, divert all flights, and ground the airport. Within minutes, Anchorage's lifeline was severed. What began as a routine morning had become a terrifying mystery on the tarmac. The airport's fate, and Alaska's, hung in the balance. The world watched, waiting for answers. Passengers on Flight 734 sensed something was wrong when federal agents and dogs swarmed their plane, moving with a sense of purpose that was impossible to ignore. The sudden presence of law enforcement, their faces set and focused, sent a ripple of anxiety through the cabin. Sarah Jenkins, a teacher from Ohio, recalled, "They told us to go back to the gate, then we saw men in dark uniforms. That's when we knew it was serious." She described the uneasy silence that fell over the passengers as they gathered their belongings, exchanging worried glances, unsure of what was happening. Airport staff looked scared, their usual calm replaced by hurried whispers and tense gestures. Travelers were moved further away, confusion turning to quiet panic as announcements echoed through the terminal, instructing everyone to remain calm and follow directions. A barista near the C concourse saw federal agents clear the area. They weren't running, but their urgency was terrifying. Rumors spread fast, with people speculating about everything from a bomb threat to a hijacking, each theory more alarming than the last. Hours later, the FBI released a terse statement. "We are responding to a security incident. Operations are suspended. Safety is our priority." The statement was brief, offering no comfort or clarity to those desperate for answers. The lack of detail only fueled speculation. Was it terrorism, an explosive device? Social media buzzed with theories, and news outlets scrambled for any scrap of information. That evening, Alaska's governor confirmed a potential threat had been found and praised the ground crew's quick action, emphasizing that their vigilance may have prevented a tragedy. He urged the public to remain patient as authorities worked to secure the airport. "We will not compromise on safety," he said. "An investigation is underway." His words were firm, but the tension in the room was palpable, reporters pressing for details that weren't yet available. The message was meant to reassure, but the gravity was unmistakable. Families clung to each other and strangers offered comfort as uncertainty hung in the air. The airport remained closed, the public left with more questions than answers. Flights were canceled, and the once busy terminals fell eerily silent, echoing with the sound of rolling suitcases and hushed conversations. The incident shattered the sense of security Alaskans had always felt. For many, it was the first time their home felt vulnerable, and the shock was visible on every face. The world's eyes were now on Anchorage. News crews from across the globe set up outside, broadcasting live updates as the story unfolded. The wait for answers had just begun. People scrolled through their phones, searching for updates, clinging to any bit of news that might explain what had happened. Fear and uncertainty filled the void, settling over the airport like a heavy fog, as everyone wondered what the next announcement would bring. The closure unleashed chaos, sending shockwaves through the airport and the entire region. Thousands of travelers were suddenly stranded, forced to sleep on cold airport floors as food and water supplies quickly dwindled. The uncertainty was overwhelming, and exhaustion set in as hours turned into days. Families with young children struggled to find essentials like diapers, formula, and medicine. Parents tried to comfort their kids, but the stress was visible on every face. Elderly passengers, some with serious health conditions, worried about missing critical medications and appointments. For many, the wait was not just uncomfortable, it was dangerous. Hotels filled up instantly, leaving many with nowhere to go. Rental cars vanished from lots, snapped up by desperate travelers hoping to find a way out. The city's roads became gridlocked with traffic as people scrambled for any possible escape, creating a sense of panic and frustration. Tourists missed long-awaited cruises and fishing trips, their dream vacations cut short with no warning. Alaskans from remote villages were trapped, unable to return home. For them, the airport is a lifeline. Without it, they were completely isolated. "There's no other way to my village," one resident said, her voice trembling with fear and frustration. Workers couldn't reach job sites, halting construction, oil, and other vital industries. The ripple effects threatened livelihoods across the state. The shutdown exposed Alaska's vulnerability. No roads, no alternatives, just vast wilderness and a single point of connection now cut off. Beyond inconvenience, it was a psychological blow. Anxiety and fear spread as people realized how fragile their sense of security truly was. The airport, once a symbol of connection and hope, now felt dangerous and uncertain, its familiar halls filled with tension. The idea that someone could plant a device here was deeply unsettling, shattering the illusion of safety in this remote place. The incident brought distant threats to Alaska's doorstep, making the unimaginable suddenly real. The community's famed resilience was tested by a new kind of fear, one that couldn't be fought with strength or endurance alone. Life in the last frontier would never feel quite as safe again. The sense of isolation, once a source of pride, now felt like a risk. The cost was more than economic, it was deeply personal, leaving scars that would linger long after the airport reopened. The federal response was immediate and overwhelming. The FBI took charge, setting up a command post near the airport. Military aircraft patrolled the skies, enforcing a no-fly zone. Explosive ordnance teams used robots to approach and remove the device, working for hours under intense pressure. The device was sent to a secure facility for analysis. In Washington, the President and National Security Council monitored the crisis. Specialized FBI and TSA teams arrived, tasked with both investigating and overhauling security. The airport became a militarized zone, armed agents, helicopters, and new barriers everywhere. For locals, the show of force was both reassuring and intimidating. Anchorage had become the front line in a new kind of security battle. With the immediate threat gone, the investigation began in earnest. The FBI treated the entire airport as a crime scene, reviewing thousands of hours of security footage. Agents interviewed every staff member and passenger connected to Flight 734. Forensic experts analyzed the device for fingerprints, DNA, and clues to its origin. Investigators traced the plane's recent flights, considering if the device was planted elsewhere. The scope widened, involving airports across the country. Pressure mounted as days passed with no answers. Was it terrorism, a lone actor, or something else? Officials stayed silent, fueling anxiety. The race was on, to find the perpetrator and restore trust in air travel. As the investigation dragged on, Alaska settled into a tense new normal. The airport stayed closed, deepening the economic crisis. Tourism collapsed, businesses shuttered, and supply chains faltered. Supermarket shelves emptied, prices soared, essential medicines ran low. The psychological toll was immense. The sense of safety was shattered. TSA teams and tactical gear became a common sight. Suspicion and anxiety grew. Online forums buzzed with theories and fear. Community leaders held town halls, and volunteers stepped up to help stranded travelers. The famed Alaskan spirit of resilience shone through, but uncertainty lingered. Until the airport reopened and the culprit was caught, the community remained on edge. The lockdown was as much psychological as physical. Alaska's isolation had never felt so real. The state waited, hoping for closure. After more than a week, Anchorage's airport began a phased reopening, under unprecedented security. Every employee underwent new screenings. All cargo was physically inspected. The perimeter bristled with new barriers and patrols. Travelers returned to longer lines, more checks, and a tense atmosphere. The investigation continued, with no arrests and no clear answers. Flying in Alaska now felt risky. Every delay sparked anxiety. The incident left a scar on the state's psyche. The balance between security and freedom was being tested. How much inconvenience are we willing to accept for safety? The economic damage will take years to repair. Trust in air travel must be rebuilt. The mystery of who planted the device and why still hangs over Alaska. Was this a one-time act or the start of something worse? The skies are no longer silent, but vigilance is the new normal. Alaska's connection to the world has changed forever.